Charles Ludwig Dodgson, better known by his pen name Lewis Carroll, was an English author, poet, and mathematician. His famous notable works are Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and its sequel Through the Looking Glass. He was noted for his facility with wordplay, logic, and fantasy. So, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is one of the famous story of Lewis Carroll.
Alice's Adventure in Wonderland is a novel written by English author Charles Lutwidge Johnson under pseudonym Lewis Carroll from 1865. But by the end of the 19th century, Sir Walter Besant wrote that Alice in Wonderland was a book of that extremely rare kind which will belong to all generations. To come, the movie also proved to be ahead of its time and has since been regarded as one of the Disney's animated classics as well as one of the best film adaptations of Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. With all this in mind, we'll jump and try to figure out the nonsensical differences between the novel and the movie. I am Jeremy Luminkit and together with Trixie Bakong and Rizal Jane Damas. So without further ado and no restrained spoilers, what is the difference between novel and the film? Both novel and film are formally similar. Alice feels bored and drowsy while sitting on the riverbank with her sister in the movie. To check the end credits in the novel, Alice's sister is reading a book with no pictures or conversations. Maury in the film, she's reading aloud from history book of William I England, which sounds way worse. In the movie, Alice is scolded from daydreaming, tells her kitten Dinah that she can live in a nonsensical magical land and finally spots a waistcoat in a nonsensical magical land, then finally spots a waistcoat wearing white rabbit just passing by. Alice gives chase into a rabbit hole and falls into a floating flemish dominated her dress, catches her fall like a parachute, and she floats gently, giving somebody below a very nice view, leaving Dinah behind your piece of cat. In book, we learn Dinah from Alice constantly talking to herself, but the cat in the house who will never actually see Dinah. Alice almost immediately noticed the talking white rabbit with a pocket watch ran past. She follows it in the down rabbit hole. When she suddenly falls a long way to fall down, it's a parachute by her dress. In the movie, after Alice lands, she chases a white rabbit through a door into an odd room with a teeny tiny door. The living doorknob engaged her in attempting to leave the room. We must get glory, all not too big. In the novel, she lands in a curious hall with many locked doors of all sizes. She finds a key to a door that is too small for her feet through the shivers down the path and sees a lovely garden. The doorknob doesn't any of this because it's just a run of mild and object Alice is in her own. The next series of events, it is about the same in both versions. Alice discovers a bottle on a table labeled Drink Me, the contents of which cause her to shrink to small reach the cake which she has left on the table. She eats a cake with Eat Me written on it, and she grows to such a tremendous size her head hits the ceiling as she cries. Her tears flood the hallways. Her crying does not last long. In the book, through and she spends some time wondering if she's not herself anymore. But someone else, maybe one of those bimbos from her school, no. I'm serious, she talked about how dumb one of this girl. As T. Alice spends a lot of time throughout the novel, thinking about all the physical changes in her body, making her feel like different people. This whole ongoing metaphor for puberty that Carol's create doesn't quite make Mr. Destiny Cat anyway. She cries and cries, and this is really where the film. In the novel, Alice shrinks again after running herself with white rabbits. She meets a swimming mouse and she tries and tell, "Where is my cat?" And these are the rude now, and he attempted to escape alright. Now deep breath everyone, there are no or not and never have been in Alice in the Wonderland. The novel both twin weirdos and their creepy poem about two friends eating Mama's oyster children are from Carl's second venture into Wonderland Through the Looking Glass. And What Alice Found There, which was been released in 1871. Then a doo-doo in a strange band of animals trying to drive themselves were running a circle as they get splashed with water cover about 2 chapters in the novel. Even though the race song is one of the best in the film, Alice just runs right by then. In the film, Alice finally tires of all the madness and she decides to go home and get lost in Talkywood. Here, and she is lost forever house, break down into tears until Cheshire Cat appears again and lead Alice into against the hedge maze ruled by the tyrannical Queen of Hearts and her make husband the King of Hearts. In the novel, the character gives Alice many riddles and stories, including famous why is a raven like a writing desk, but she eventually grows weary in the bombardment and leaves Alice then. Happens upon the door in a tree. She enters into the same hallway from the beginning of her journey, using the mushroom and the knowledge she's gained of how to control the day changes in the body. She grows tall enough to grab chaos table and then shrinks herself to use it, and finally, by taking control of her own journey, arrives in the garden that she's been searching for since the beginning. Who will dealing with the story of a small girl, the film does get some criticism for making Alice less capable, leading the Cheshire Cat to save her from her own incompetence and lay out her path versus her written counterpart who used the knowledge she's gained to get where she needs to be in both the novel and the film. A low center is the garden where she comes upon three living playing cards, painting the white roses red because the Queen of Hearts hates white roses. Painting the white roses into red is at another puberty things. Alice then meets the king and queen in the film. The king is me again, quite nice, while the book he is about as man as his wife. The queen of figure difficulty please introduces her trademark face of witch hang, which the authors at the slightest dissatisfaction with the subject of court in the film she ordered. So the execution of playing cards that were painting the roses, but in a novel they don't get caught. Alice is invited, or some might say ordered, to play a game of croquet with the queen and the rest of her subjects, where leave flamingos and use as Malay and hedgehogs as ball, but the game quickly descends into chaos. The Duchess is super happy to see the girl as she goes on and on about finding morals and everything around her. The Queen of Hearts finally gets sick of her and dismisses the Duchess on the threat of execution. She then introduces Alice to Griffon, who takes her to the Mock Turtle. Mock Turtle is depressed even though he has no sorrow. That's contradiction. Yeah, I know, truly, don't worry about it. He tries to tell his story and about how he used to be a real turtle back in the school. But the Griffon interrupts them so they can play the game. Mock Turtle and the Griffon dance to the lobster quadrille, and while Alice foresights rather incorrectly tiles the voice of the lobster, the Mock Turtle sings them beautiful. So, during which the Griffon drags Alice away for the impending trials. Does that make sense? No good. We're moving on now. The trial is finally seen in the Wonderland in both versions, but they are different in the movie. Alice is on one trial. She recalls that she still is in the remains of the caterpillars, mushrooms. She eats them and quickly grows to a gigantic size. Alice feels free to speak her mind and openly insults the queen. However, she shrinks back to her normal size just rapidly. Enraged, the queen orders off with the head. Alice runs away but is chased down by most of Wonderland's character, who don't have anything better to do apparently. Things get very Mushroom Kingdom and Yellow Submarine typey until she finally reunites with the doorknob. Alice begs to be let through the door, but the doorknob tells her she is already outside there. This forces Alice to wake up herself up just in time, now realizing that logic and reason exist for a purpose. Alice walks home with her sister and Dinah for tea, and the novel Alice attends to a trial for Knave of Hearts. He's accused of stealing the Queen's tarts. The jury is composed of various animals. The White Rabbit is the court stomper and the judge, the King of Hearts, during the proceedings. Alice grows steadily larger. The dormhouse scolds her she has no right to grow at such rapid pace. Alice scoffs and calls the dormhouse and accusations ridiculous because everybody grows that she can't help it. Alice is then called up as a witness. She accidentally knocks over the jury box with the animals still inside, and the king orders Alice to be gone. So let's proceed to the literary elements of Alice's adventure in the Wonderland.
The setting of the story. The setting of Alice's Adventures of the Wonderland is in Wonderland Underground, where there is a fairy tale creatures, non-lifelike characteristics, and a place where nonsense is extremely high. The book is taken place throughout Wonderland in different locations. A quote from the book is, "If I had a world on my own, everything would be nonsense." This quote just gives us an idea of how the characters in the book think, and an idea of Wonderland too. This is said by the character in Wonderland, and Wonderland is Alice's dream, so that's her mind. But she dreamed of the character that said it. So, if Wonderland is her dream, it is obviously crazy. Characters of the story. The main characters in the story is Alice, and she is a heroine. Alice, basically innocent. She set herself out on an impossible mission, which is to get home and return to her regular size because she became smaller when she entered the world of Wonderland. Characteristic for the fairy tale is the protagonist of the story is a child. Like in Alice in Wonderland, Alice is a child. Next is the plot of the story. On the hot summer day, Alice was sitting on the riverbank with her older sister as she noticed a large white rabbit running past her looking at his watch saying, oh dear, I shall be too late." Alice, being a curious little girl, followed the rabbit as it went down a rabbit hole and found herself in the Wonderland. She met some interesting creatures including the King and Queen of Hearts, the Hatters, and the March Hare. Throughout her adventure through this Wonderland, Alice noticed that most of those creatures were kind of mean and didn't help her figure out where to go and what to do. Another strange occurrence was how everything she ate or drank changed her size. 1 minute she was a few inches tall and the next she was 9 feet tall. So when Alice was in this land, she expected the unexpected and didn't think much of the unusual occurrences. It ended when the Queen of Hearts got unhappy with Alice and summoned the soldiers on her. Alice woke up realizing it had only been a wild dream. The theme of the story is the tragic and inevitable loss of childhood innocence. Throughout the course of Alice's adventures in the Wonderland, Alice goes through a variety of absurd physical changes. The discomfort she feels at never being the right size acts as a symbol of the changes that occurs during puberty.
And that's all. Thank you.